Shabbat Shalom, children of the Most High. Good evening, or good day. Yep, today is Shabbat, and it's time for our study in His Word. And let's see here. We left off on Bereshith, chapter 4, and now we're moving into chapter 5. Bereshith, Genesis, chapter 5. This is the book of the genealogy of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, he made him in the likeness of Elohim, male and female. That's it, male and female. He created them, and he blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day they were created. And Adam lived 130 years, and brought forth a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Sheth. And after he brought forth Sheth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And Sheth lived 105 years, and brought forth Enosh. And after he brought forth Enosh, Sheth lived 807 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Sheth were 912 years, and he died. And Enosh lived 90 years, and brought forth Canaan. And after he brought forth Canaan, Enosh lived 815 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. And Canaan lived 70 years, and brought forth Mahalalel. After he brought forth Mahalalel, Canaan lived 840 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 65 years, and brought forth Jared. And after he brought forth Jared, Mahalalel lived 830 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. And Jared lived 162 years, and brought forth Hanok, which is Enoch. Okay? And after he brought forth Hanok, Jared lived 800 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. And Enoch, lived 65 years, and brought forth Methuselah. And after he brought forth Methuselah, Enoch walked with Elohim 300 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Enoch, were 365 years. And Hanok walked with Elohim. Then he was no more, for Elohim took him. Very few people in the Bible were ever raptured. Enoch was one of them. Elijah was the second, and we'll get there. When we get further into the prophets, you'll see that Elijah was the second that was raptured. That's it. Nobody else. Because Yahweh took him. We'll get more into that later. And Methuselah lived 187 years, and brought forth Lamech. And after he brought forth Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. Methuselah lived longer than any other man. In all biblical history, he lived longer than any other man. And Lamech lived 182 years, and brought forth a son, and called his name Noah, saying, This one does comfort us concerning our work, and the toil of our hands, because of the ground which Yahweh has cursed. And after he brought forth Noah, Lamech lived 595 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. 777, that's one of Yah's favorite numbers. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah brought forth Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Chapter 6. And it came to be, when men began to increase on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were good, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. Okay, this is going to get a little crazy now, because the sons of Elohim are the fallen angels. When Satan tried to take over with a third of the angels, and Yah booted them out, they all fell to earth. Okay, so now they're hanging out on earth, and the daughters of men are looking nice. They're looking real pretty to them. And because they're angels, they've never really had those experiences before, so they've decided that they're going to hook up with these girls. Okay? That the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were good, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Yahweh said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever in his going astray. His flesh and his days shall be 120 years. Okay, so after the flood, there was no longer living, no 900 years. And there's a lot to this. When we do our cross study with Enoch, you're going to see that there's a lot to this, because when the sons of Elohim took wives of the daughters of men, they were birthing, because I don't consider it creating. These are abominations, so I can't see Yahweh's stamp of creation on them. There's a lot to it. Hang on. We're going to get right back into it, and we'll go into some more depth. The Nephilim. Okay, this is the product of the fallen angels and the daughters of men. Let's see. Verse 4, chapter 6. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. Okay, let's look at this just for a second. When you think about Greek mythology, when you think about Roman mythology, when you think of the giants, how about a nursery rhyme, Jack and the Beanstalk, anybody? These giants, they were real. They were the men of old, the men of renown. And because these were crossbreeds between humans and fallen angels, they had special abilities, as you'll see as we get further into here. So they started teaching the hands of men the ways of the heavens, started teaching them how to make weapons, started doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and they had the humans worshiping them as gods. As you know, by studying any kind of mythology, you have all of these crazy gods that had all these spectacular powers, the men of renown, the men of old. They were fake gods. They were they were acting as if they were Elohim. Okay. Verse 5, and Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. They were doing wicked things. These fallen angels were doing all kinds of wicked things and getting man to do it too, just like what happened in the garden, except for now we're on earth. And they're breeding. And Yahweh was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. And Yahweh said, I am going to wipe off man, whom I have created from the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature, and bird of the heaven. For I am sorry that I made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahweh. Verse 9. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with Elohim. And Noah brought forth 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth and saw that it was corrupt. Are you ready for this? Because this is where it's going to get really crazy. For all the flesh had corrupted their way on earth. All flesh. Not just the humans. All flesh. And Elohim said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and see, I am going to destroy them from the earth. Okay. As we get further, as we go back through Enoch, you're going to see in quite detail that not only did they corrupt the genealogy of man, the genome, the creation that Yahweh created, they corrupted. It's always Satan's deal. He always wants to corrupt everything that Yah has, everything that Yah creates. He's got to try to corrupt. But not only did they corrupt the humans, but they corrupted the animals as well. Okay. Here's one of those moments where you're going to realize you were lied to. According to my own studies, it doesn't say this precisely, but it sure does hint around to it in Yah's word, that because of these angelic beings having not human ways, abilities, that they were able to also breed with the animals. Okay? Pretty sick. Really sick. But then, think about, where did the dinosaurs come from? Okay, we've already come to the conclusion that we didn't come from a one-celled amoeba in a pool of slime and turn into a monkey which turned into a man. That's utterly ridiculous, and we have already covered that and come to the conclusion that that didn't happen. Okay? Lie number 2. The dinosaurs. The dinosaurs were not... These were animals that Yahweh created and Adam named, but the fallen angels corrupted their flesh. Thus, giant reptiles. What was Satan? He was a snake. So, they ended up having giant reptiles walking the earth. And when we go back through Enoch, you're also going to find out that these giants, the Nephilim, okay, because there's more than one giant. There's generations of giants before we actually, there's 2 generations of giants before we actually even get to what they call the Nephilim. Okay? And the giants were men of great stature. They were huge, huge. But they were eating the humans because there wasn't enough food for them to keep them sustained. So they started eating the humans. Okay? So then you have dinosaurs running around on the earth. You have giants and Nephilim running around on the earth, and they're eating the humans. And Yah is like, enough. Enough. This is insane. This is not going to happen. This has totally destroyed my beautiful creation, and I'm putting an end to it now. One guy amongst everybody on earth was righteous. Noah. The pure bloodline of Adam, creation of Yahweh. One guy was pure. His bloodline was unaffected by these Nephilim, by these fallen angels. So Yah said, yo brother, I got a job for you. And we're going to get into that right now. Okay? Verse 14. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and out with covering, which is referred to as pitch. Okay? And this is how you are to make it. The length of the ark is 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a window for the ark, and complete it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. So it had 3 decks. Big boat. And see, I myself am bringing floodwaters on the earth to destroy all flesh in which is the breath of life from under the heavens. All that is on the earth is to die. He is going to flood the earth. And Noah's going to build a boat to try to get the survivors safely. Verse 18, and I shall establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, and your wife and your sons' wives with you. So 8 people. That's it. Out of all the people that were on the earth at that time, generation upon generation upon generation, 8 people were all that were going to survive. And of all the living of all flesh, 2 of each. So 2 of each species of unaffected pure animals. You are to bring into the ark to keep them alive with you, a male and a female. Of the birds after their kind, and of the cattle after their kind, and of all creeping creatures of the ground after their kind, 2 of each are to come to you to keep them alive. As for you, take of all food that is eaten, and gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. So he's got to gather up enough food and collect it all up to where there's enough food for the 8 people and all the animals to survive. This is going to be quite a journey. And Noah did according to all that Elohim commanded him, so he did. Okay. So we see that these creepy fallen angels and Satan have fallen to earth. And following patterns of behavior, they jumped on the opportunity to start destroying everything that Yahweh had created. Corrupting the flesh. Sins of the flesh. What did we go over about the forbidden fruit? Sins of the flesh. So these creepy fallen angels are running around breeding with all of God's creations, all of Yahweh's creations, and corrupting it. and turning into monsters, because the Nephilim were monsters. Good example. You ever been in the southwest of the United States? Arizona, Mexico, or New Mexico, Utah, Colorado. When you find cliff drawings in these areas from the ancient Indian tribes, okay, the people that lived in the area, the cliff drawings are very interesting, because when you look, and they're all very similar to each other, no matter where they're at, they're all very similar to each other in the fact that you'll have these little people. I mean, think about this. It takes a lot to carve into a piece of rock. It's not like they were just having holidays saying, hey, watch what I can draw on this rock. No, they were putting forth a storyline to let future generations know what happened to them. Okay? So you have these little pictographs, I don't know how you say it, pictographs, let's go with that. These little pictographs of these little people. And they got their little animals and their little corn stalks in their fields planted. But then off to one side, you'll see this great big huge creature with horns and a tail and 6 fingers and 6 toes. Remember that, because the Nephilim had 6 fingers and 6 toes. Okay? And you see these creatures, and then behind them is this swirly thing. Okay? The swirly thing more than likely is a portal, because there are many portals. And when we go through Enoch, there's a lot more to that, because the angels, Gabriel, shows Enoch around up in heaven. He shows him all the portals, how you can travel around through the earth. Anyway, the fallen angels and the Nephilim, their children, probably knew where these portals were. So the Indian tribes at the time were drawing these pictographs on these walls to show people that these monsters were showing up and destroying their villages, absolutely decimating, eating them all. So they would have to go and hide in the clefts of the rocks. And if you look at the ruins, get way back into the desert in Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, you get way back into the desert and you will find a lot of places where there were tribes living in the clefts of the rocks, in the deep canyons, so that they could try to escape these horrible beings that were eating them. And this didn't just happen in the United States, this was happening worldwide. Let's think about this for just a second. How many monoliths are there around the world? How many places are there of incredible structures all over South America, all over Mexico, all over Europe? There are these giant structures that could not have possibly been built by little guys, humans. The giants, the Nephilim, they were around for a long time, generations. So they had plenty of time to build all of these things. And if you ever watch Timothy Alberino, he does really good documentaries on finding these areas in South America. He spends a lot of time in Peru. And it's really interesting what he finds in the jungles, in the Amazon jungle. It's really interesting what he finds. These great big huge structures and hidden cities and all kinds of stuff. And all across the United States, there's evidence that there are burial mounds, gigantic burial mounds that have these remains of these giants in them. Not to mention the garbage that they try to feed us about the dinosaurs being wiped out by some kind of a comet or an earthquake or a volcano, or the flood wiped them out. How do we know that? Because there's layers of sediment on top of the bones. So it's obvious that the flood wiped them out, destroyed the corrupted flesh. Okay? Now, don't look at what I'm saying as being scripture. Okay? Because this is just what I have discovered through my studies and put in my little pea brain and deduced. It makes sense. To me, it makes a lot of sense that these horrible creatures were wandering the earth eating the humans. I don't believe in cavemen. I don't believe in any of that Neanderthal stupid stuff. These were humans, okay? They might not have had the technology that we are all cursed with, but they were humans. And these horrible creatures were eating them. So Yah washed everything away, flooded the earth, and set Noah adrift on the ark. Okay? I hope I'm not confusing anyone. I hope I'm not, I pray I'm not confusing anyone or or mixing anybody up or any of that stuff, because I don't want to do that. I want to read Yah's word. And we're in his Torah, which is his word. Word made flesh, Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay? I don't want to add to or take away from anything in this book. But the obvious lies that we have been told as children growing up, the lies that they continue to tell us, so that it separates us from our Elohim, so that you believe all this other wacky stuff that they try to tell us. No, the Martians didn't land on Earth and drop a seed off and they'll go back someday and check on us. No, did not happen. And it just kills me to think that they lie to our children about this stuff instead of telling them the truth. Yahweh is the only truth. There is no other truth. And it's quite a journey when you start to put together the puzzle pieces to realize that we have been lied to so badly. The human history, where we came from, who created us. Yahweh, our Elohim, is the only creator. Man does not create anything. We do not have the ability to create anything. We can make stuff. And as you'll see as we go further into all of this, there's a lot of men that make a lot of stuff. Idols, golden calves, all kinds of stuff. Okay? But there's only one creator. Only one. Alright, well, thank you for joining tonight's study with me. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you got a lot out of it. And as we travel through here, you're going to see a lot of things that you've never probably seen before. Because there's a lot of truth. You just have to dig it up. And I'm trying. I am not a pastor, nor am I a teacher. I'm just a guy that reads the Bible. I've read it a few times, and these are the conclusions that I come to in reading Yah's Word. It's what I get out of it. But I also am very aware of the Dead Sea Scrolls and what they say. The uncanonized and the canonized that was taken out of the Bible by the Council of Nicaea. We'll learn about all that too. You'll love all that. Anyway, I'm going to let you go for tonight. Thank you for joining me. It's such a pleasure to be able to read the Bible with everyone. And, oh, yeah, I wanted to let everybody know that I figured out the comment section. I'm no genius on this IT stuff either. I don't know nothing about tech. Terrible at it. But I did figure out the comment section. So if you all want to fellowship If you all want to swap ideas with each other or conclusions that you're coming to through these studies, feel free. You're not going to get trashed in the comments, and I'm not going to allow any trolls. I'm not going to allow anybody to come in there and cause division. There's enough division in this world already. We need to come together. We need to come together. In Yeshua HaMashiach's name. Okay. Y'all have a great weekend. And we'll see you midweek. Okay? Alright. Yah bless. Take care.